Hi everybody, welcome to another review. Yes, Eclectric Reviews is back. And right with finger on the pulse moment, it is with Devin Townsend's Empath. Yep, I have the album here on vinyl with a beautiful, if the picture will allow it, gatefold sleeve. As I scroll it across, I can't see what I'm doing anymore. It's gone. I went really past. Woo! Yep. I splurged out. I got the vinyl. Don't always get the vinyl. Most of the time I'm getting CDs because, vinyl, much money. But got to get this one. It's had the CD with it as well, which is fantastic to have. But anyway, on to the record. Devin Townsend, Empath. Where am I coming from on this? What am I going to say about this slab of vinyl? Well, double slab of vinyl. This is a pretty brilliant, amazing, weird, twisty-turny, timey-wimey kind of album. Not got that much experience with Devin Townsend, as people who follow my channel know. I've heard probably 6 songs by him in the past now. And I've got a CD, his last CD as well, in my library. Had it for Christmas, heard it once. Should really listen to it more, because it's just that I'm just covered in music all the time. But I'm coming to this basically fresh-faced and fancy-free, so with no real baggage or real huge amount of knowledge of Devin Townsend. What I do know is most of his, at least recent output, is very wall of sound-like, very elegiac, very, very pompous, very, very powerful, very, very positive messaging style, and very, very heavy and beautiful at the same time. He mixes the whole thing together in a wonderful package. And Empath continues that to a certain extent. It is still very much a positive message, elegiac feeling to the album. There's very much a wall of sound to the album as well. But when it comes to straight ahead melodic monsters, this album is not that. Most of the songs I've heard have been very straightforward in many ways. Yes, they twist off in little tangents here and there, and they produce things that you don't expect, but they have a wonderful throughput. Most people can get the hook straight away, get the riff straight away, get the melody straight away, and you go all the way to the end, and it pretty much doesn't divert a huge amount. This album is all about being purely arty, purely progressive as you can. Basically throwing the kitchen sink and seeing what scatters across. It is being like rained on by colours. It is so dynamic, flexible, weird and lovely at the same time. So what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is each song basically transcends its basic melody and riff to actually produce something more. It jumps around wherever it can. Now, some bands that do that kind of thing jump around and basically lose the tread of the melody, the tread of the riff. You just basically go, I'm lost, I'm completely lost. And if it's for a few seconds, fine. If it's for the rest of the song, it's like, oh, this isn't. Even though he's experimented full throttle compared to what other things he's probably done, I have a slight knowledge of it, like I say. They've all been very, very straightforward in comparison to this. Even though he starts off with a melody you can follow, he goes off on a tangent, but then he comes back in, and the melody's there again. Then he goes off another one, but it comes back in, and the melody's there again. So each song, pretty much, you can follow it. Each song gives you hooks that you go like, if you don't quite get it the first time, if you're going like, yeah, but there's just something to it. I want to listen to this again. I'll listen to it again. I'll listen to it again. You know what? That's the power of what he does on this. Yes, he experiments all the time. Yes, you don't know what's going to happen. You're sitting there going, something's going to happen, and then it goes off, and you go, ah, but then it comes back. All the time it comes back, and you can follow the music quite beautifully. So, all I can say is, this is a great album. This is a fantastic album. This is a stunning album. Yes, lots more superlatives like that. There are one or two misgivings for me on the album. That doesn't make it absolutely perfect, but there's very few absolutely perfect albums out there. And what I like to do is go through each track as quickly as I can. Starting off with Castaway, that's a little intro sort of thing. It's chanting stuff, it's nothing like amazing or anything like that. It's just a perfect little intro to Genesis, which was the first one that was released. Now, when I first listened to Genesis, I liked it, but I didn't like it. I wanted to like it, but I didn't want to like it. It was just weird. It just had that sort of weird compunction to it. It had things like cats meowing in it and all sorts of weird stuff. But on a second listen, on another reaction channel, I went, I've got it. I really like this now. I like it. And since I've had the album, I've heard it a few more times now, and it really is a strong, powerful song. Yes, it goes off on tangents, but like I say, the melody and the riff is all important, and it always goes back to them. It always finds a way back to the most important elements of the song, and it just flows through perfectly. Genesis is a wonderful thing. It throws everything into this song. It is like an explosion of all his styles and all of styles of music, and it just throws them back out and goes, there we go. And you know what? It bloody works. Followed up, Spirits Will Collide. Spirits Will Collide is the most basic song on this album, I would say. Full song. Castaway is like a short little thing, as is Requiem later on in the album. So they are like intros, almost to the songs that come before them. So Spirits Will Collide is his most traditional sounding song. It's like previous albums. There are one or two little bits and bobs where you go, ooh, that's a bit different. But in the main, it is one of his pure, positive feeling, yeah, sort of songs. It doesn't, it's not any, it could fit in his other albums quite happily. Then we go into Evermore. When I first heard Evermore, I thought, yeah, it's a more straightforward song than Genesis. Yeah, he's jumped around a bit on there. He's finding different things to go into. But this is actually tighter and easier to get into than Genesis. And then when I heard it again, I went, actually it's not. And since then, I've gone, this is harder to listen to like, I really like this song again. Evermore has much more staccato differences to it than Genesis does. It just feels like there's more juxtapositions between the melodies and the different parts that he plays in there to actually put you off your stride a little bit. So even though at first I thought this is more refreshing because I've got this one, it's actually a lot more complicated than you think. It took me a few more times to get the full flow of it. And so we come on to Sprite, the fifth track on this album, and the one I have the most problem with. Maybe it's because for Evermore, which was a more complex, wibbly-wobbly one, it had Spirits Will Collide before it, which softened it somewhat, which gave you a little more commercial side song to go with it, before Evermore kicked in and went whoa in your brain. But Sprite is another whoa in your brain type song, and one that doesn't really do it for me. The start is very twee, on purpose of course, like all the stuff on here is, but I just didn't like it very much. It just doesn't seem to add up together for me. So enough negativity, I will move on, because this is a positivity type of album anyway, but it's just that one song is a bit, no, I've heard it a few times, it's not grabbing me, it's not getting me at all. I'm going to listen to it as part of the album, but I still won't be happy to listen to it even in the album context, because it's just not gelling for some unknown reason. But after that, we had Hear Me, which is the pulverizing moment. Big, huge, heavy-hitting guitar riffs and hammering drums that just drill into your head constantly. Sometimes too constantly, maybe, but there's enough breaks and change-ups and things that go on in there to stop that from being all the way through. It's not all the way through, luckily. And again, a good, solid song, a more simple song in context of what's come before it and what comes after it. But still, a lot of changes going on in there, a lot of little things being thrown into it again. Then we hit Why. Why? Starts off very fairground style, yes, a fairground style sound to it, and then it's almost like a Disney invasion. Disney are in there. Hello, We're singing a Disney show tune almost in parts. Very weird, very different, very enjoyable though. It's Disney with some heavy metal guitaring going on every now and again. And so we come to Borderlands. Calypso beats, gentle rhythms, pounding guitar parts, pompousness throughout. Another experimental song. What a surprise on an experimental album. But this one, unlike Sprite, works for me for whatever reason. Even the strange perverseness of calypso drums going on in the background and stuff makes me go like, hey! It's just a weird all-round good song. It has, obviously, it's got to be something to do with the melody. It just works for me on that one. After that, we got Requiem. Requiem is the same as Castaway, really, a sort of intro song for the next song to come. And the next song to come is Singularity. Singularity, 20 odd minutes, a suite of 6 parts. Starts off with Adrift, then I Am I, then There Be Monsters, Curious Gods, Silicon Scientists, Here Comes the Sun. Now, a song that long, with that many parts to it, you're obviously going like, this is going to go off the rails 1,000,000 times. It doesn't go off the rails 1,000,000 times, but it does go off the rails. Adrift, quality, gentle sort of epic sort of opening. I Am I, stronger and more powerful. There Be Monsters, the heavy, heavy hitting part of it, which then sort of whimpers into Curious Gods. Curious Gods is the part where it's gentle and then it just goes nuts. Goes nuts in the jazzy, weirdy, let's just go berserk kind of way for a couple of minutes. And it's one of those parts in a song that I'm always going like, this is no longer music. This is just throwing sort of individual noises at the screen and going like, yay, listen to that. What's it for? It's for making you go, huh? Literally, it's making you go, huh? And then it sort of flows into Silicon Scientists. Silicon Scientists, sort of an industrial electronica sort of moment in parts of it. Cools things down a little bit after the nuttiness that took place at the end of Curious Gods. Before Here Comes the Sun flows it all back into perfect harmony and beauty. So the whole thing's bookended by wonderful, wonderful melodies. Then goes absolutely ape with pure noise terror in parts, and then sort of goes loopy before going through an industrial electronica moment, back to beauty again. Overall, I would say Singularity is an awesome song. It's just that one part in there I don't really like very much, which is very weird to say. The whole thing, I have to listen to the whole thing. Really, I'm not going to be able to listen to this in separate parts. The whole thing, it's the whole thing or nothing. The whole thing or nothing. And as a whole thing, it bloody well works. The thing about this album is, if you're a Devin Townsend fan, come what may, you're going to get this album. You're going to like this album, possibly. If you're a fan of his more melodic, straightforward work, this will be a challenge you might accept and go to. Or it might be one you just go like, no, effing way, I cannot take this. As a casual listener, this could make your brain melt. As a fan of progressive music, if you've never listened to his stuff before, this might be right up your alley. It's that kind of album. It's twisty-turny all the way. I would recommend this album to anybody who likes a bit of a challenge but loves melody, loves riffs, and just loves Devin Townsend. You will find things to like, things to love within this album. Yes, for me, there are parts that don't quite work. There's a whole song that I just cannot get into. I've listened to it several times. It just will not click. And for that, I will give it a solid 8 out of 10. What? Not a 10 out of 10, no, because there's a song I really dislike, and there are moments within some of the songs I'm like, nah, I don't like that part at all. No matter how I've listened to it 5 times now, and those parts still haven't clicked completely. And by now, after that many times, you're usually getting them. So it's a great album. It's not perfect, but it is wonderful, and I'm really glad I've got it. And now I've finished this review, I'm going to go off and listen to it again. Almost finished this review. One thing I've got to say, this is an album. Most albums you can dip in and out of. You listen to it a couple of times, then you just dip in and out of. This isn't really an album to dip in and out of. Yes, you can. I've done a few listen throughs on my channel and gone woo, but not on this one. Not really. It doesn't really. There's one song on there I'll probably do that, but the rest of the whole, it's pretty much something you got to listen to as a whole. It just works as a whole. It's one of those perfect albums in that sense because it is meant to be heard of as a whole. It's hard to break a single song out of there and listen to it on its own because it feels more fragile on its own. It feels more out of place on its own. It doesn't. It's like, why is all this happening? Put it in the core of the album. It works. Weird how that happens, isn't it? Anyway, hope you enjoyed the album. Don't forget to click that like, subscribe, and share. I will see you for another one very soon. Bye.